Welcome back to Stay in Control. Hello, Dr. Michael.
Hello, how you doing, Vicky?
So can you please just summarize what happened in the previous episode?
We really started to define what addiction is, and we gave an examples, and what are the consequences of the addiction. And also what we discussed, how to deal or how the symptoms, if somebody who is a member of the family or my friend has an addiction, how would I know?
So let's get more into details. Some people say that marijuana is an addiction, and some others say it's just like plant. Why would a plant be cause an addiction? It's supposed to be healthy. God created plants. So what would you say about that?
Very good question. Very good question. The marijuana is a plant. Okay, and always give that example that poison ivy is also a plant. If you touch poison ivy, everybody knows what happens.
You die.
Very bad reaction, skin reaction, okay? And it is a plant. Now, so not all the plants are good for us. There's some poisonous plants. If we eat them, we're gonna be sick. So the idea it is a plant, it's not a valid reason why should I do marijuana. Also, the marijuana that we talked about, and if you look into researchers that about the marijuana, it's very confusing because marijuana nowadays are genetically modified to give a lot higher concentration of a substance called THC, which is tetrahydrocannabinoid, which is the active substance in marijuana. It started to be when in the 1960s and 70s, it used to be 1 to 3% concentration. Now all the marijuana modified ones, at least 35% to 50%.
Whoa, that's a lot.
THC concentration. And if you look at the wax or the hash oil, we're talking about 90% concentration of THC.
Okay, so marijuana is an addiction.
Yes, it can cause addiction.
Okay, so how does it affect the body and the brain?
People don't recognize. They think marijuana is a good thing. And they write things on the internet and the blogs and saying, well, I took marijuana, I was very anxious, now I'm fine.
I'm chill.
I'm chilled. That's the word they use, correct. But they didn't look into what happens. Yeah, they are chilled. They are good. That brings me to an example that somebody in my office practice start to show up with marijuana in his urine drug screen. And I said, you started to use marijuana? He said, yes, doctor. And I said, why? He started to say so many things. It makes me calm. It makes me mellow. I can sleep. I can deal with the stress. I can do a lot of things. So I let him go on for about 30 seconds why he's using marijuana. Then I asked a question. And I said, what about your wife say about that? And his answer, don't get me there. So what happens, there is a disconnect between what you see and how the patient feels after taking the marijuana and from how people see him. You see him very stupid. You see him not worried about anything. They see him not motivated to do anything. So he comes home and sits on the couch. And that was the end of it. So the wives or the husbands, they become very angry from the patient. Also, marijuana is well known to be the best drug in the world to be amotivational, means no motivations. They talk, when somebody is high on marijuana, they talk a lot about what he's gonna do or what she's gonna do. What they accomplish is zero. You will see kids that are in schools, their grades start to drop after they use marijuana. Before we go in the marijuana, I wanna again make sure that the parents know the step before marijuana is smoking. And if you find your kid is smoking, the next thing is he's gonna use drugs. And he's gonna start with marijuana. When I have somebody coming in for opiate addiction or chemical addiction, my question is, when did you start using marijuana? Not if you did. No. When you started marijuana, what age did you start marijuana? Because I know the drug addiction, it starts smoking, then right after the smoking is marijuana. So, the effect on marijuana, you asked me the question is...
How does it affect the brain and the body?
The body and the brain.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I said something in general,
Yeah.
okay? It's a very amotivational drug. The problem is when the youth people and in the teens, what happens if they use marijuana? First of all, the short memory is gone. And you see a lot of those kids, they forgot that they said something. Or they forgot what did they do. Or leave the stove on and they forgot that they doing something on the stove. Short memory is killed with marijuana. Now, the developing brain, and that's when they start. The developing brain, it has to make a lot of connections. And I'll show it to you. When you have a little baby still, how he moves, or how he moves his hand. Okay, there is no smooth action. If I want to move my hand, I move my hand. I don't do this. These are because the connections in the cerebellar, it's part of the back in the brain, it developed. So I can move easy, okay? But the developing brain, there's a lot of connections are happening inside the brain, and also changes in the neurotransmitters in the brain that affects the development. So if I, as a kid, start using marijuana, which again, it starts from age 9 to 11 on the average, then my brain will get affected. And you see this a lot, they cannot achieve even graduating from high school. Graduating from high school is a very, very difficult task because their brain connections did not develop right. So they are not understanding how to get materials, how to study it. Very difficult.
So if marijuana is an addiction and it's a very bad influence on teenagers or kids or even adults, why are some or many countries legalizing it nowadays?
Very good question. And in the addiction field, we stood up and said, do not do this. But there is a political movement. There is political and also money-wise that these countries are looking for. For example, when somebody will be very famous for passing marijuana laws, despite on if it's going to affect the children or not, there's also a lot of money to be paid as taxes for that. They're underground, and they're going to bring it up. So there's a lot of money to be made. And their argument is alcohol is over the shelf. I can go any place and buy alcohol. So why not marijuana? Also, the police, from the other end, the police got affected. Police start to watch marijuana high people in marijuana. Now they have, before they had the breathalyzer for alcohol. So you blow in that and they will tell you how much alcohol in your system. Okay? They start carrying the same thing for marijuana. And they will give you a ticket for driving under influence in many countries. So although they legalize it on one end, okay, on the other end, if you use it, they will give you a ticket. Don't say it is legal, because it's not legal when you drive.
Yeah, same with alcohol.
Same with alcohol. Okay? Not because the alcohol is legal, so you can drink alcohol and drive. No. So on one end they legalize it, on the other end they sanction if you use it.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Dr. Michael. Thank you for watching.